Well, day 2 on this Cuda. We have a 72 Plymouth Barracuda here. And yesterday I fixed the charging system. So today we're going to have a look at the fuel gauge. Let's turn the disconnect switch on. You can see the fuel gauge goes way past full. Now typically that's like an open circuit. I think this is a balanced coil type fuel gauge, but I'm not certain. So we're going to put it up in the air and have a look at the wiring to the fuel tank. So we're looking underneath this Cuda here, and I see the fuel line. Oh, there's the sending unit right there. Perfect. So we can do some testing right here. The wire goes through the floor. Well, let's put an ohmmeter on this sender and see if we have a resistance. I believe this one will be 70 or 90 ohms, but it shouldn't be open. Let's see what it measures. So the wire going in there is pretty corroded, pretty rusty. I wonder if that's all that's wrong with it. You can see it's rusty. So I got an ohmmeter connected between the terminal on the sender and the tank, and it reads 12 ohms, so it's not open. Let's try cleaning up this terminal and see if we can test it here. We use a signal generator gauge tester here and see if we can make it work. So I'm going to use this OTC gauge tester, and it comes with a card in here, but it even doesn't go back that far. It goes to 83, and a fuel gauge in 83 on a Chrysler Corporation was 90 ohms with low fuel, and 12 to 13 ohms full. So according to that, the tank is full. I would imagine he's put gas in it, but I don't know if it's full. Anyways, we're going to dial up this resistance value using the signal generator. Connect it across the wires. And this is 0 to 50. So theoretically, if I put it at 90, let's go to 0 to 100. If I put this one at 90, it should read empty. Let's hook that up in there. So I decided to move my ground for the ohmmeter to the body of the vehicle in case the tank isn't grounded. And it is grounded, so we're on the body of the vehicle now. On the frame, and it's 12 ohms. So this wire is pretty corroded inside. As you can see, it's rusty in there. But I'm going to try and put a terminal in there and dial up 90 ohms and see what the gauge reads. So let's see what the gauge reads now. It reads empty at 90 ohms. So I'm going to clean up that. I'll try it at 45. So I put it at 40. And according to this, there's no dash lights here. It's at empty. Let's try putting an open circuit. Well, now I'm confused. That's with an open circuit. Let's try shorting it. So with it shorted to ground, it reads over full. So that's an open circuit. That's 0 ohms resistance, shorted. Now the gauge was reading 12, so if I set this at 12, it reads full. If I set it at 45, it reads roughly half a tank. So the gauge is working good in the dash. I'm going to clean up that connection and see what happens. I'm not sure how much gas is in the tank, but I'm taking it to be nearly full. I mean, he's said this thing burns a gallon a minute. So now I see this must be a thermal gauge because it operates very slow. So that's at 45 ohms. It reads empty, or just about empty. But it was indicating over full before. So that's at 50 ohms. It reads empty. Well, let's clean up that wire. So I tried putting a nut on this terminal, but the whole terminal spins, as you can see. So the wire attached to the other side inside the sender is not going to be very well connected. I was going to put an eyelet on here and screw and attach a bolt to it, but that's not going to happen. So I think we're going to replace this sending unit, but trouble is it's got a custom 1/2-inch outlet on it. I don't like how this fuel line is running and sitting on top of this tailpipe. Mind you, they do have a piece of steel welded on there, but nevertheless I would have tried to tie that up against the fuel frame. But I'm going to see if we can find a sending unit for this thing. So I found a Spectre Premium sender for this 72 Cuda FG67C on Rock Auto. It doesn't come with an inlet screen, but that's minor. But it has a 1/2-inch outlet and a 1/4-inch return line, but we can cap the return line. That's not a big deal. And its specs are 10 ohms full and 80 ohms empty, which makes sense because that's the way the gauge works in the dash. I managed to get that wire reconnected, but I'm concerned about the integrity of this connection in here because the stud spins, and I'm sure if the tank is above that half level, it's going to leak out of that crimp. So I'm going to look around and see what else is available. So here's the new fuel tank sender for this 72 Cuda. Purchased it from Rock Auto. It's pretty quick shipping. Comes with a retaining ring and reluctor, or retaining ring and O-ring. This one's got the 1/2-inch outlet. It also has a 1/4-inch return line, but we can cap that one off. That was the only one I could find with a 1/2-inch pipe. So we're going to plug this into the existing harness and make sure the fuel gauge works before we install it in the tank. So I thought I'd hook up this sender to a graphing ohm meter. Empty, it reads 84 ohms, and roughly half a tank is 35, and full it's 10. So we're going to put this in there. I think the tank is pretty close to full right now. You can see it moves nice and smoothly. Again, we're going to hook it up to the wiring and see if the gauge works. So I'm going to turn the key on. The sender is at empty right now. It's coming up slightly to empty. No, it didn't read empty before with So we're going to take that sender out. See how much gas is in this thing. So there was over half a tank of gas because it's leaking as soon as I started taking the ring off. And this 1/2-inch pipe here is glued into there. So regardless of whether this thing needs a sending unit because of the electrical problem, it's not very well modified. So I was able to get it out of the tank. You can see that somebody's put this piece of 1/2-inch stainless pipe in here, and then they soldered the original sending unit onto the side of the pipe, but the pipe is loose on the outlet here. I guess they tried to solder it and they melted the connection inside here. So hopefully we can get this back in now, the new one in there. Yeah, let's try put the new one in. Managed to get it out. The tank is brand new, so clean up that surface. So there it is, back together. I put a sharp piece of 1/4-inch fuel line and a couple of clamps on that vent, or that return line that we're not using. I had to make a tool to reinstall the lock ring because I couldn't get up there and hit it properly. And this worked perfect. Just put it in there and caught 2 ears and pulled down and twisted it right in place. It's an old fan blade wrench that I don't use anymore. So there's about 2/3 of a tank because it's just above the seam here, the fuel level. So let's see what the gauge reads now. Okay, well let's turn this thing on and see what it reads. Look at that. Just around a 1/2 a tank. Beautiful. Let's pour that gas in and see what it reads after. I put another 3 gallons of gas in it. And it's just under full. Well, actually that's closer to 4 gallons I put in it. What's important is it reads empty when it's empty. And I know it will because I had the sender at empty. And it read empty. So that's it. I'm going to lift it up and make sure there's no leaks. Thanks for watching.